Between game action recording, take 2. The Knights of Commandary number 13 each had a hard night of sleep. A foul taste stayed in each mouth as they let a band of thugs slip through their fingers. The victory of the next day and the dispatch of the demon brought no comfort from the possible loss of a piece of the beloved Pope. After the plague was seemingly destroyed, the Templars rode in full force towards the last known place this band of thugs was reported to be, Hexenkopf. Keeping the banner rolled up as they rode in numbers of 3 surrounding the town and coming into the town on horseback. They tried to confront the group on who they are and where they are headed. The Templars very prepared for battle. However, that resolve itself, there are a few things the group wishes to do. We wish to move as an entire group, unless we don't have enough between game actions, or to do so, in which case I can divide the group up since we have planned to travel. Hastily, a horse is provided for Bishop William de L'Abelard, costing the sum of 25 crowns. Provisions are packed with utmost haste, and the horn is sounded to begin the fast ride to the dark lands beyond Cleesbridge. The order of the Templars' ride are hard and heavy into the English countryside, striving to make up for the delays of lost time. Horses are all pushed to the very brink, frothing and breathing raggedly. Seems from the direction of Hexenkopf blows the cold winds of coming fall, buffeting your bands with the chilling breath of a dying summer. With every league traveled, the air becomes brisker and less friendly, the sky more gray and devoid of comfort. The road to Hexenkopf is but a few short days to ride. It seems to all a journey into eternity, where time feels like naught but the devil's plaything. The trail, so keenly followed of the Overlord's passage, shows their hurried horse tracks give way to a faster gait. Mayhap they know that they are pursued, or the devil's lash is truly upon them. You ride to the very border of the cursed land known as Hexenkopf, where devilry and witchcraft abound. The land is rather bluntly marked by a crude but tall earthen wall that surrounds completely the outskirts of this dismal place. So tall is the sod-covered wall that you must try and find a breach through which your company can ride. After a time, it is Hurley himself, riding tall in his saddle, that finds the entrance, the break in the earthen circle, and he looks through up into the breach that you secretly wish he had missed it. There's the ruin of a once tall iron gate, surrounded by the scattered links of sundered chain. The rusted thing lies open as if something had burst out from it from within. The ruined portal seemed familiar to your eyes, reminding all of a cemetery gate. Once it all falls into place. Looking upon the earthen hill with fresh eyes, you see simple talismans of farmer superstitions making irregular rises in the wall, placed just beside the crosses of your god. Some dark, fresh dirt marks a spot no more than a few yards from the broken entrance. This be no wall, but a barrow that surrounds the land, no doubt filled with corpses uncountable. Within must be buried several hundred dead. It is as if all the fallen of all of Hexenkopf were buried just outside these bleak lands, so bleak that their final resting places would serve as a silent warning to trespassers and the foolhardy. Seeing the tracks of your quarry pass through the rent gate, you know you must enter this dark place, but the horses cannot find their courage. Your simple beasts, though loyal, refuse to tread on this so unholy of ground. Bishop William's unseasoned horse fails him entirely, bucking and lurching so hard he is almost thrown from its back. But Sir Gunnar's strong arm holds the holy man fast to his saddle, as Mahid takes up the slackened reins and steadies the terrified beast. With this display to dishearten all, you are forced to dismount and pass through the sundered gate on foot. Swords slide out of scabbards with a metallic song, and clubs haft are tightly held. Whispered prayers are uttered by all you, as at last you march into Hexenkopf. All along the twisted road that rises up everward are signs that you now travel in a thrice-cursed land. Gnarled trees reach into the foreboding sky with dead talons for branches. Even more so than the burnt fields of Lochnar, the woods and hills of Hexenkopf echo in haunts both real and imagined. The small folks' tales are to be believed just by riding through these dreaded lands. The lot of you are newly cursed. Higher and higher you climb, and you hazard a look upon towards the crest of the next peak. It looks as if the gray skies swirl like an angry whirlpool centered near the top of Heckenskokoff Mountain. You move all the quicker for it, as with each second, the situation grows ever more dire. When at last, down a rise of jagged boulders, you come across the end of your journey. Gone are the tracks of man and beast. The mist cleared before your eyes. The moaning wind howls in your ears. You hear the mirthless cackle of a woman. She stands alone in the high end of a slanted field of sparse, coarse grass. She beckons your Commandary to join you upon this plateau, her hair, dark, unwashed for months, blowing into her face, concealing much about her vision. But when her eyes pierce through, they are sharp and cold. Bows are raised, and Aramis orders the advance, and he angrily demands with authority that the overlords show themselves. Lightning cracks above your heads as if you were touching the bottom of the coming storm. Its flash illuminates the battlefield. The field is angled some 45 degrees, the patchy grass just clinging to life, broken up by the dark patches of earth. Across the field the woman weaves together a spell using eldritch words. She throws what could only be assumed to be spell stones into the earth. On landing, the shining black stones split and smoke belches out from them. At once, the earth trembles and heaves beneath your feet. Your march halts as moaning, twisting corpses rise from their shallow graves. The witch cackles in delight, commanding her new army to hew your head from your shoulders. Any warrior would quake whilst facing so horrific a foe. The Templars were not trained to be fools nor cowards. Nahid strides forth, slicing a zombie's grasping arm. Then he takes an unhindered step closer and hacks its putrid head. The cold fog creeps from the field. Aramis calls out to take the undead before they fully rise from the graves. Swords flash, cudgels crack as your force presses against this impossible enemy. Sir Gavin surges forward, cleaving a walking corpse down to the ribcage, and plants his foot upon its chest and pulls the sword free. Brother Francisco spins his flail, heavy and deadly, and swings into the nearby abomination with a skull-crushing fury. Demetrius, all the while uttering prayers, is a whirling dervish with his gigantic club as he knocks down each undead that dares assail him. Sir Aramis's blessed blade, bites into foe after foe, making even those corpses no fear. But an army would have been sore pressed to stave off so many sinister, snapping undead warriors. Despite the courage and skill, the hordes of desiccated zombies press ever closer, onwards towards a dark victory. Then, with the peal of thunder, can be heard Bishop William's voice, beseeching God himself to drive away these foul creatures. The hordes stop and lurch as if struck by an unseen hand, and turn fully their backs to you. The witch at last shows desperation and calls to her army to stop and fight, but the thing's ears are as dead to her words as they are to life itself. Sir Aramis seizes the opportunity, commands to strike. The twisted mockeries that were once men fall to Templar blade and maul and arrow. And at last, the battle turns. For now, there are none left to bar your charge to the witch, but she unleashes terrifying spellcraft woven by demon pacts. The crackling spell strikes Sir Hurley's mighty tower shield with no ill effect, and are battled away callously by Sir Gunnar's own shield without repercussion. The witch clutches at her amulet, and her eyes widen in realization and fear as she calls for the fog to close in upon her. Templars rush through the thick mist with their blades, but find no mark. Then upon the edge of the battlefield, the witch can be seen weaving a fiery spell of doom and malice. But from the mists bursts Dame Sophia, who hews the witch's arm off at the elbow. She screams in defiance and pain, while Dame Tara, her normal bright smile replaced by a warrior's visage, takes the cursed witch's heads off with one skillful stroke, and cheers go up from the ranks. The coming storm quieting, though Templars take stock in the battle. None of you stand sorely wounded, but neither are you closer to stopping the overlords. Search of the area reveals the remains of the dreaded altar of the damned. About it are the consumed components of some unknown demonic sorcery. A sundered box, inside showing the remains of burnt blood, and a broken staff topped with a cracked red jewel and edges with lightning runes are all that remains. All components look spent and burnt, signs of a spell cast and an opportunity missed. Bishop William sighs heavily and thinks of a friend lost. Bishop William then looks upon this field of horror. How many good men and women died here long ago, left to rot in shallow graves, only to be twisted by a necromancer's dark magic. Only the poor devils who fought here were laid to rest with the same care as those in the barrows. Mayhap it would have left you with but the witch to contend with. William looks upon the bloodied corpse of the witch and starts aloud when her dead hand slumps to the ground and opens. Clutched in her dirty fingers is a crude leather amulet, etched with a profane sigil. Only but once have you seen such a mark, while reading a report of a failed exorcism. Mayhap it holds a clue what the ritual used here might be, and more important still, how it may be undone. With little else to do now, the Templars retrieve their horses and ride back to Cleavesbridge. The outcome of the above should have been settled the same day, and the group returns failed or victorious to tie up some loose ends before departing the area on missions most important. First, Sir Gunnar and Sir Aramis go to visit young Nigel in prison. There they shall play good cop, bad cop, getting written a confession out of the man about the Dragon Eyes underground tunnel in the village that was Cleavesbridge before it was. His uncle, and what exactly his uncle knows. Aramis and Gunnar play on the cowardly emotions Nigel expressed, while Aramis threatening pain and death, and Gunnar begging him to be spared for the information. The cell of Nigel Ramsay is a long way from a noble's bedchamber. A rough-hewn bed, stool, and desk were provided for Nigel, and a thick wool blanket now hangs as a cover for the main barred door to stave off the growing cold. Ramsay himself seems to be unflappable despite the dirty face and unwashed clothes. He's just received his afternoon meal and eats it with relish. It took him several days to eat the simpler fare provided, and he is used to finely cooked meals, so it bodes well that he is finally again eating his fill. When Aramis and Gunnar approach him, he raises his eyes from the leavings of potted cheese and boiled leeks to look upon you with a casual manner. Aramis seizes the noble about his tunic and lifts the lord up to meet eye to eye. You will put pen to parchment and scribe all you know of the legend of the Dragon's Eyes, shouts Aramis, his voice harsh and thundering. Gunnar strokes his beard passively, arms crossed. Please, Aramis, allow his lordship to finish his meal. Mayhap with a full stomach the tale will be more easily remembered. We have brought several leaves of parchment and fresh ink, and of course some wine to warm you a bit in this gathering cold. Sir Gunnar produces a bottle, yet another donation provided to the order, which Nigel eyes with longing. Nigel hastily agrees, and Sir Aramis unceremoniously sets him down upon the stool and forces a quill to his hand, even while Nigel reaches for the bottle with the other. Between swigs he looks to Aramis and says, Any word of my lord father's response to the ransom? Nigel raises a brow, only to be met by a terse nay from Aramis. Nigel then looks long and pleadingly to Gunnar, but can stave this fate off no longer. With no ransom, it's cooperate or die, and Nigel Ramsay sees fit to not yet leave this mortal coil. With the scratching of the quill as preamble, it is this that is written by the hand of Nigel Ramsay, Lord 11 before. A review of what was discovered under what is now the town of Cleavesbridge, as recalled by Nigel Ramsay, third son of Lord Adrian Ramsay, Earl of Hereford, as recalled while imprisoned by the Templar Commandary of Cleavesbridge. The town of Cleavesbridge was founded, and I use that term loosely, by some petty lord villain some time ago, but only received its name in 1141 when a serf named Montgomery Cleave was tasked with building 3 bridges for the king's army to cross. Of the 3 bridges, enemies of the realm destroyed all but one. That bridge became known as Cleavesbridge, and thus the grubbers had something that they could call their stinking shithole. But under the dung and disease lay a secret to be coveted. 3 years ago, Greyshade became very interested in what was buried there. Those courts that were in good standing with that mage tyrant were pressed information, and certain secrets were shared. Our court was one of the favored. Greyshade was eager to find anything of arcane value, and pressed our court mage, Cuthor the Entwiner, to question oft. They had worrisome secret conversations, and it was from these that Greyshade's dissertation of Cleavesbridge and verified its importance to the legend of the Dragon's Eyes. Later, my father, Lord Adrian Ramsay, Earl of Hereford, saw value in the manure fields and ruins. He sent agents to learn what our mage and Greyshade had discovered. Beneath the town, long ruined by plague, was a series of tunnels, crypts, and catacombs. Secret sects and covens would use these cursed crawlways to practice dark rituals of forbidden magics. They would hide arcane artifacts of vast or middling power. Among them, it is said, are the Dragon's Eyes, twin gems as clear as large ice, large enough to make anyone rich. Moreover, they are said to pulse in magic power. Our court wizard, Cuthor, called them the Eyes of Time, whatever rubbish that is. Now, Cuthor was banished from court just before our raid on Cleavesbridge. With Greyshade dead, the church can no longer be held at bay, and mages here and abroad will soon be put to the sword as the pagans they are. Yet I know where Cuthor hides. I know how to reach him. I can get you the man that knows how to search for these baubles, but only if you agree to let me live. Now, your order could recover objects of unknown magical power that were sought after by the most frightful, wicked mage our history has ever known. But if you wish to seize them, it must needs be through me. Nigel ceases writing and puts his arm behind his head. A cunning, satisfying look creeps like a reptile across his face. Eneska is taken to Sir Eric Cressland. Aramis explains that she must stay safe as he travels out of England. He knows no safer place than among other brothers. He also asks for a meeting with the blind Templar when the Commandary returns to Cleavesbridge, that all the newer Templar might speak to him on his account and gain his wisdom. If for some reason or another Eric cannot accept Eneska, that with a heavy heart Aramis will bring her with him, unless a Tauros family shows up to collect her. But with a Tauros family long overdue, we're left with little choice. Sir Eric Cressland of the Sunder Shield looks to you as you introduce the fine Eneska to him and tells him the solemn task he is to undergo. He looks taken aback by the request. "Am I not to join you against the overlords?" he says, looking shocked. You shake your head at him grimly. For you know someone trusted, someone true, must be ever watchful and guard dear Eneska. Still, you shall miss his sword when the next fight comes with the wicked overlords of men. He steps forward to clasp the hand of Sir Mahid and brightly jests. Well, no doubt I am uniquely suited for this task, what with my eyes being in my head and all. Plus, I am unencumbered by a bothersome shield. He pauses. His smile fades, and he looks Aramis in the eyes. No harm will come to her. You have my oath on it. He nods at you, says his final goodbyes, and spirits Aramis's lady love away by speed of horse. Lord Ramsay is contacted about paying ransom for Nigel. Knowing that he is broke, the Templars offer to take many forms of payment, which, if none are given, Nigel will sit in prison. It is mentioned that those who came to attack with Nigel bore the symbol of his lordship upon their chest. Nothing is mentioned about anything that Nigel said, not even that Nigel hinted Ramsay was with evil intent, only that it appeared to be his men who attacked. Adrian Ramsay, Lord of Hertford, returns your letter. Sir Aramis, it saddens me to know that the knave that was once my wilful, ignorant son would sully my family's name further than he has already. I have disowned him. He has no right to my love or protection. I shall pay you nothing for him, knowing that he acts on his own. He has neither my support or blessing, and shall reap the judgment of his actions begged for. It is my hope to return the tabards of those men that do me grave dishonor by bearing the colors under false pretense. I wish to tell you the slaying of these traitors, that following the snake of a man who was once dear to me. May God forgive what a father cannot. Adrian Ramsay, first Earl of Hertford. Onward to travel, Dame Sophia, having received a letter from her father, knows that she must go to him. The entire Commandary wishes to all go with her, followed by an expedition to the Holy Land. France, the Holy Land can split the Commandary if need be. We traveled to France by way of horse to see the father of Dame Sophia. The hope is that the bishop, along with our other holy men, might heal him of his sickness. We also look to see if the sickness relates at all to the pestilence from Cleavesbridge in any way, shape, or form. The other hope is that when he sees her with the Knights Templar and these holy men like the bishop, and he forgives her for her choice and realizes that she has a divine calling. Stories are told to him of her holy valor and her vision concerning the icon. The long road to Franchères, France, is an arduous crawl across leagues, despite the speed of your horses. This is made more desperate by Dame Sophia's worry. She spurs the Commandary faster on every leg of the journey. A ship is arranged to take you out of the crowded London port across the English Channel to a small port in Brittany. Where ships are easier to come by, travel from Outremer still takes the lion's share of worthy seafaring vessels. But once the small sailing ships, Le Jeton de la Chance, in English, the lucky token, set sail, all are relieved. The ship seems sturdy enough, as does its hardy Frankish captain, Jean Legrand. Befitting his name, Legrand is quite tall, oft hitting his head on masts and low door frames, after which he laughs merrily. Legrand seems an utterly undauntable fellow, laughing and smiling despite his afternoon's heavy rain. The secret of his contentment appears to be a plentiful supply of wine, which he shares with the grace of a host lord. Even Gunnar finds much to admire in the seamanship of this jolly captain. After a short ride through the lands not wholly friendly, the Templars at long last arrive in the small town of Francais, no doubt due to the graces of the homme d'Atom of Thion. Dame Sophia takes a moment to marvel at the timelessness of this place, once known as home. Though some faces strike the unfamiliar, much remains as it was. Upon the hill, the only fortifiable area of this lush place, stands the castle, home of your lord father, Gerard Bernadet. Your heart leaps with a joy indescribable as you see his flag still fluttering in the breeze, no morning black to be seen upon the ramparts and the waving pennants. You have made it with some time to spare. Dame Sophia exclaims something aloud in French, and is off like a loosed arrow, spurring her steed through the muddy streets on towards her childhood home. Before the castle portal, at last she slows, leaving her Templar brothers and sister to catch up. Two guards, clad in the colors of her lord father, call out to her. It is now that a curious realization hits Dame Sophia. The guards, who at one time looked resplendent in their armor of leather and chain, now look rather quaint. Seems even your small commandery benefits from the best armor and weaponry of the day. Dame Sophia shoos away this stray thought and introduces herself. The look of grim recollection flashes across the guard's face, and they turn and open the large wooden double doors of Chateau Eorls. Within the halls of the stone castle is held memories long and cherished. The servants and stewards look upon the Templars, especially Dame Sophia, with saddened, hooded eyes, and a grief palpable. Rosette stands apart from them, stern and scowling, her once gentle countenance now a mask of harsh appraisal. Dame Sophia wordlessly walks towards her. The gathering servants stand stock still and silent. Dame Sophia is acutely aware now of the creak of her leather armor, echoing in the expanse of this stone hall. From what seems 1,000 eternities, Rosette regards this prodigal daughter's return with shining, steely eyes. But all such moments are forgotten, as Rosette cannot contain her true emotions and rushes forward and warmly embraces her once charge in almost motherly warmth. For a time the two hold each other, unbidden tears mingling on now smiling faces, all uneasiness vanished in a wordless reunion. After the two speak in rapid French, as servants surround the Templars with offerings of food, baths, and the bounty of a gracious host. But Dame Sophia cares for but one thing, to see her Lord Father. Rosette leads her to the bedchamber of Gerard. From here only Sir Aramis, Dame Sophia, Bishop William, and Brother Demetrius and Francisco Elvira are allowed. Gathered within are Sophia's brothers, tall and dark-haired Ruel, the oldest, who watches all with narrowed eyes. The next oldest, named Arcard, his eyes wet with fresh tears as he stares upon his father. Davet, a strong and stout-looking man, has all the bearings of a champion, but his eyes belie his grief. The youngest, Orson, kneels and weeps at his father's side. Only the appearance of Dame Sophia serves to brighten the room, but the enchanted moment is hastily expelled. Charlotte rushes forth to embrace Sophia and holds her hands in hers. After much talk in the language of the French, an aged man stands before and speaks. Thankfully, this head physic and surgeon, once aged man who introduces himself as Morel, speaks more than passable English and tells the onset of Lord Gerard's failing. Brother Demetrius offers his skills as a master mediciner and tries something to balance the humors in his lordship. When all else fails, he uses leeches to pull out the bad blood. The surgeon Morel watches the deft hands of a master at work, but even one as learned as Demetrius cannot undo the ravages of time. The clergy of the temple lay hands upon the ailing Gerard, beseeching the Lord for intercession. At last, it is all for naught. The Lord's age has crept at last and caught up to him. Bishop William clears his throat and calls for prayer. The four brothers, Rosette, Charlotte, and the Templar, join hands, unified in faith, and call for the glory to God. With the hour of his end upon this earth drawing ever near, Gerard finds the strength to hold his only daughter's hand, and beckons his grown sons to gather about closer, so they can hear with final words. My dear sons and daughter, let no quarrel divide you. Honor your blood. Know that I have loved you at all times with a proud father's doting heart. To you, Roel, my oldest, I give my holdings, my title. The land is yours to care for. To you, Ashad, I appoint you to serve your brother, and all you can, so that when the time comes, you shall inherit ours and the gardens therein. You shall have a manor house overlooking the vineyard for your own. Davet, you have grown so strong and fine. Dear the armory, fine mail, my father's sword, and you, rascal Orson, I give you all the tomes of our library, and the manor house on the southern border, with its fine cherry trees, enough to plant. My time hastens. Sophia, you have your mother's smile. She would brim with pride. Will she be here to see the woman you have become? The gifted, desperate lies Rosette sent to thee. She has reunited us at last. It is to you I give my finest treasure. On your return to your Commandary, open this letter, sealed. The old lord hands Sophia a wax and sealed letter with a shaking hand, and pulls a wrapped bundle hidden at his side. The cloth is tied with woven cord, and one unwound reveal a stylized M mark. The mark of the gathering. Ruel and Davet gasp aloud. When the cloth is opened, you all behold a small square tile engraved with a gold symbol that is unfamiliar with you. I am that in a gathering, victory and shame. Never have I dared to find out what it means. You must learn what I could not. Gerard is seized in a sudden coughing fit that robs him of his best strength. All gathered know now that it is a mere matter of moments. Bishop William steps forward and begins the last rites of Sophia's father. Confessions are heard, whispered in attentive ears, even as the Lord's breath grows fainter. Cries and whimpers play like a dirge off the walls of this chamber. When all is still, when all is gravely silent, and naught can be heard but Rosette's quiet whispers and whimpers, Lord Garrard can fight no longer. Surrounded by friends, family, and men of God, Lord Garrard passes from this life into the next. A chorus of lament and tears echo through the Château for some time. The long process of mourning begins. The small folk of this place join in the lament, as all those great and small were touched by the wise and noble Lord Garrard. Sophia's brothers put forth strong countenances as they don the blacks of mourning. Days pass, as if the world itself stops to allow for grief. But in the passing of time, all realize that matters pressing still harry your new home in England. Tearful goodbyes are spoken. Hands clasp in new friendship, as all are grateful for the Templars have brought Dame Sophia home, if but for a short time. Lord Ruel, Bernadette, sees you all. With heavy hearts and a new mystery, the Templars ride away from Rochelle, mayhap for the last time. From France we travel, or for some of us travel, to the Holy Land, riding for Cyprus, and the headquarters of our holy order. Once there, we call the brothers to a council to tell them all of the failing of the Pope, having the bishop tell them of the lightning strike, the vision he had. Aramis tells them the story of the Black Pope, and how for years he and a small few have been dealing with this issue, recently brought to the attention of the Paladins, and now being brought to the attention of the Knights of Solomon's Temple. To prove that God has come with them, Aramis tells them all to bow and pray to the icon, and he holds it above his head. Pray, my brothers, and witness the grace that God has bestowed upon this order. As they pray and receive the gift, the icon Aramis speaks. Know all that we say is true, my brethren. Let us now all carry this burden together, knowing our Lord shall prevail and the Pope shall be restored. God wills it. The spear is also presented to the brothers present, that the symbols of Christendom will help to show the other brothers that all we have come to say is true. Upon arriving, or while we are there, the current Grand Master will have passed away, and a new Grand Master will be voted in. While in the Holy Land, most of the English winter, the Commandery works feverishly to put the name Aramis Cortez de la Vega in the ears of all brothers when concerning the new open position of Grand Master. It is noted that he was at the greatest battles of Crescent, one of the few survivors. Each member makes sure to spread the true and good rumors about the Commandery of number 13, not to forget that the fact his grandfather, whose sword he now wields, was a Templar in the First Crusade. Aramis himself has said out loud and long that even if he were to become Grand Master, that he would return to England to combat the problems with the overlords and the Pope, installing a commander in Cyprus. No matter the vote, the winter is spent talking about the old days of the Crusades and, of course, of the new adventures in England. The group is divided. I think the France group will return to Cleveridge. The road to Cyprus passes beneath you in a blur. Morning has given way to duty, to grim purpose. The normally quiet Francisco takes it upon himself to preach to the travelers you happen upon on the road. His zeal, his rectitude, seems to bolster even strangers to the faith, and he is joined by Demetrius, who adds hope to the Father's calls for courage in the face of the devil. Lastly, like an observant father, the watchful Bishop William quietly approves of the sermons he hears. When the time is right, he offers wisdom, giving these roadside sermons the truth that strengthens the combined message. Righteousness, hope, and wisdom are dispenses to any and all. Along the way, you tell of the tales of your Commandery, of triumphs and travails, challenges and campaigns against the wicked. The journey is a long one. The fertile and lush fields surrender to arid lands. It's a familiar place to all, but not at all welcoming. The very land that stretches nigh desolate before you must be a test by God of Templar will. Though hot winds and biting sands seem to always bid you turn back, your small band rides ever onward. None can recall the journey to LOTM to pass away so swiftly, but you see that as a testament to the true cause and glorified purpose. Within weeks of travel conquered, you find yourself sailing on a rough-hewn ship to Cyprus, to your fate. Gurner is in all his glory, shouting the praises of God, was steering the ship to the largest of waves and laughing heartily. With a short time, you dock on the Isle of Cyprus. Now all that remains is the great matter. The headquarters is packed to the rafters with the faithful Templars, each trained to be a warrior true, all yearning for battle against the enemies of the order. Now in recent times you are vexed with the riddle of who is the greatest enemy of the Temple Mount. You hear told by these LOTM Templar, it is the Saracen and the rival monastic orders that pose the most dire threat. Indeed, the Hospitallers and Paladins seek to wrest lands once solely promised to the order, carry the favor of the Church. But those of the 13th Commandary know full well the truth. Back in England, there be demons, men who serve the Dark Prince, necromancers, and the assembled filth of an army of arcane apostates. You have beheld noble, honest Muslims that serve as credit to their people, but you know that of the overlords that can be naught but killers and blasphemers of the lowest order. The shouting Templars quiet when Aramis throws open the heavy iron-embossed door. They cease to talk of land and rights, of revenge and justice, and stare with narrowed eyes at one who would be called traitor. Mayhap coming here will only summon death and doom. Before you, on the opposite side of the room, newly enthroned as the Grand Master, is Gilbert Horral. With Robert Disabled's death, Horral took on the burden of leadership. On one hand, he sues for a kind peace betwixt the Crusader states and the Muslim kingdom, but on the other condemns the Hospitallers and Order of the White Cross for splitting the attention of His Holiness Celestine III and the gifts that he gives to the monastic orders. While older men of the order scoff at the notion of peace with unbelievers, Newer knight brothers relished the idea of taking back stolen valor from rival orders, by sword if need be. This charged political environment would challenge Solomon himself. To Aramis, is but a gauntlet thrown down by an opportunistic enemy. Aramis strides confidently into the center of the room. Some Templars hiss and shout for him to be put in irons or worse. Others regard Aramis with a mixture of curiosity and approval. "Brothers and sisters," he begins as Grand Master Horrell rubs his bearded chin and narrows his eyes to mere slits. "We have come from a troubled land and bring the gravest of news. The Pope himself has been assassinated. The shock of this blow to the Templars is as physical as it is disheartening, and replaced by a demon." Mere moments ago, battle-hardened warriors seemed split in their opinion of the Commandary. Now all but 4 or 5 laugh coarsely at so absurd a notion that you know to be true. The hall rings with it. Mockery and japes mingle in the thick, stifling air. The crowd parts as an angry Templar, Brother Rodolfo, charges as he pulls out his hand and half and raises it high, only to have it pinned to a wooden pillar by a swift shot of Eugene's bow. Startled Templars go to pull his arm free when Aramis strides forward and bears the man to the floor with a single punch. Eugene, Aramil, Orin, and Gavin surge forward, weapons drawn in a small ring about the commander. The gathered Outremer Templars are stilled by this show of force, if but for the moment. Again the sun-crowned parts as Bishop William calmly walks forward, his hands clasped, his eyes bright. "There is truth in what Aramis speaks of. It can be proven." "How?" asked the Grand Master, now on his feet. "Bring forth a learned cleric to test the validity of our words, and we shall produce what evidence that has been made known to us," the bishop says, his voice pleasant, as if the conversation were as casual as can be. A wiry, sickly, thin cleric known as Jasper of Crewe shuffles forth. The Holy Land had not been overkind to this once plump cleric. He is known as a schemer and manipulator, but his loyalty to the order stands unquestioned. Knowing that all that travel within the 13th Commandery must seem suspect, Bishop William has given you this one chance to prove what must seem as a wild impossibility to the ears of these men so removed from the war with the overlords. His watery, cold blue eyes bore into Aramis, and his twisted mouth hisses out a single question. "Have you on oath to God spoken true to us this day?" Aramis wheels about to face him, putting his face closer to his accuser. "Aye, it is the truth." Aramis then offers his forehead, which Cleric Jasper anoints with water most holy. He closes his eyes and whispers a prayer so earnest and true that it is startled to hear from so crooked a mouth. His blue eyes snap open in a look of horror and bewilderment. "Aramis speaks truth!" The gasp that echoes from the room is so loud that the rafters seem to shake. But this serves for such a dark truth could shudder the very pillars of heaven. For Aramis it is merely the call to arms needed to bring the Templars to the cause. "Not all is bleak. We of the 13th Commandery have, by the will of God, recovered relics to bolster our strength, and to show the enemies of faith God will not abandon us." The icon and spear tip are produced, with the Templar staring in abject shock and disbelief. Even Jasper of Crewe is so awed by the relics that he falls to his knees, crossing himself. Seizing this moment, Sir Aramis calls out, "Pray, my brothers, and witness the grace that God has bestowed upon this order." As they pray and receive the gift of the icon, Aramis speaks, "Know all that we say is true, my brethren. Let us now carry this burden together, knowing our Lord shall prevail and the Pope shall be restored. God wills it." Filled with the grace of the Lord, Templars old and new, high-ranked and low, shout in one voice, "Credo in Deum! Credo in Deum! Credo in Deum!" The Grand Master calls the 13th Commandery into the map room, to the place where the battles of Outremer have been planned by your order. All are greeted as heroes of the faith. For hours you speak, revealing all that you know of the demons and the overlords of men. Well into the cold night you plot and plan and reveal secrets that serve as intelligence to the greatest war mankind has ever known. The hour is late. Grandmaster pledges the strength of the Templar whole and ready to the cause. It is then that the morning sun ascends over the craggy mountains atop the Isle of Cyprus, its warm beams shining off the water, about as if off silver glass. It is the dawn of a new day, the first of a long conflict, no longer devoid of hope. The Templar are at last united. In the long winter ahead, we speak of older times, battles joined and enemies vanquished. Sir Aramis gains quite a following among the younger Templars, some requesting a transfer to this new crusade in England. There are even whispers of Aramis as the new Grand Master. Heady notions, all to be sure. When at last the days turn back to spring, the 13th Commandary say their long goodbyes to brothers and sisters, old and new. Armor, long torn from battle far afield, is repaired. Weapons are sharpened and oiled. Horses provided with fresh tack and saddle, enough to make it feel from the London port to Cleves-Bridge. A familiar face. Captain Jean Legrand offers his ship to take you fellows home again. The order pays all his expenses, which brings a fresh rose to his ruddy cheeks, and a new wine is purchased. With gladdened hearts you begin the long journey home, so that your work may begin in earnest. Onward, ever onward, to Cleves-Bridge, for the glory of God. Deus Vult.